welcome to Season 9, Episode 11 of the Ubuntu Podcast. It's Tuesday, the 10th of May, and we're going to discuss what's been happening in the news and in the community. I'm Mark, and joining me this week are Alan.
Hello.
Laura.
Hello.
And Martin.
Hello.
So, Alan, what have you been up to since last time?
I flew back from Prague. That was one thing. And I also, following on from a conversation we had on the show a little while ago, where we talked about debugging like broken systems and stuff, I asked the internet to help me provide a list of all the things you would want in your toolbox. Because I bought a USB key. Everyone said, oh, you should have a USB key on your keyring. So I went and bought one. And it's quite a solid looking metal keyring. And I installed Ubuntu Mate 1604 AMD 64 version. And
nice choice.
Yes. And I thought, what could I possibly also want on here? I know, I'll ask the internet. So I posted a link to an Etherpad, started typing, and then loads of other people started typing as well. And to my surprise, it all worked out really nicely. And there's a big list of lots of different things people put. And some people put a little bit of text underneath to say why. There was a bit of reorganization of the document. People made little categories for disk tools, Windows tools. Like there was a bit for editors and obviously Vi and Nano and Emacs and Rationale and stuff. And there was a bit of chat in the side, but it was all really, really good. And it worked out really well. Well done,
Did this work as well as your what should I put in my car in case I get lost in the snow list from a few years ago?
It worked very well. That one was very funny. Because there were lots of comedy things that people suggested I put in the car. I wish I had a backup of that because that died in the big purge of Davy's Etherpad. But it was good. It was really good.
Cool.
I'll summarise it all and put it all together at some point.
Cool. Laura, what about you? What have you been up to?
I went virtual racing and I didn't come last.
What is virtual racing? Is this like a really lazy version of parkrun?
No.
I'm in.
No, car racing. It's computer game car racing, but It's in a place and it's got lots of seats to make it feel like you're in a car with a big screen in front of you. Like
a load of like arcade machines, but hooked up together.
And are these hydraulic seats or just seats with pedals and wheels and a big screen?
That.
Yeah. Where did you do that? That sounds brilliant.
Chandler's Ford.
Oh, that's not far.
It's a place I've heard about for years and years and years, and it's an ex-IBMer who set it up, apparently. And I'd never been, so me and some friends went, and it was fun. We raced the Monza track with Fords and then actual F1 cars.
Do you know
not actual F1 cars?
Well, virtual F1
virtual
ones, actual virtual ones.
What 1994, I think, to be precise.
Do you know, was it like branded software of some kind? Was it a like well-known piece of software, or was it something special they'd done?
I think it's what they've done.
It's rather cool.
Yeah, it was good fun.
Ace.
We should have a podcast day out down there. That sounds like jolly good fun.
We should.
Yes.
Right. Well.
Anyway.
We'll save that for another time. Let's get on with the show.
And now it's time for the news. First up this week is a story from Jim Sterling, who's a game critic and YouTuber, and he's found a workaround for YouTube's Content ID system.
Is this the thing people keep moaning about that ends up with their videos being blocked?
Either blocked or monetized by other parties, yeah. So Content ID, depending on how you try, if you're monetizing your channel and you post something and it uses content from somebody who feels they own the copyright for, so maybe it's music or maybe it's footage from a film, but in a lot of cases footage from games as well is fair game apparently now. The owners, the copyright holders for said music, film or game can make a claim against the whole of your video even if their snippet of music or whatever is only a few seconds long,
Right.
and claim they own it, and thereby they are going to monetize it by having adverts injected into that video, and any revenue generated from that will go to the copyright holder.
Right. So you do work, embed a little bit of somebody else's work, and they steal all your monetization.
Yeah,
basically.
and the real sort of point here that some people are really angry about is if they use clips from trailers, that also qualifies for content ID infringement, which, kind of, and it completely flies in the face of fair use and what have you as well, because if you're doing a critique of a film or a computer game, you should be able to use footage, to make illustrative points.
Right. So what's the actual crux of this story then? Jim's found a workaround to this.
I think this is 21st century genius. His workaround is to deliberately include as many infringing bits of material as possible in his videos, so multiple copyright holders make content ID claims, and this creates a deadlock within YouTube where none of them can monetize the video or claim they own it, because none of them collectively own all of the infringing bits of copyright. So he's making a mockery of this system brilliantly by deliberately including lots of infringing copyright. And his point is, I tried to do the right thing, but actually going out of my way to deliberately do the wrong thing means that nobody can place adverts in my videos, and he doesn't monetize his videos through YouTube anyway.
But couldn't they just take it down? Isn't YouTube just going to take it down?
Possibly. I mean, that is something that can happen.
Yes, I hear that sometimes people do get their videos randomly taken down for no reason and then are unable to appeal against that because their account gets locked.
Yeah.
When the music is out of copyright even.
Yes.
Yes. Well, it'd be interesting to see what the YouTube or Google's reaction to that is, and whether other people start using the same method, just embedding a few bits of copyrighted content at the end of their video just to trigger the content ID system. It'd be interesting to see if other people use it and what the reaction is.
Be interesting if everyone uses Erasure, because Erasure might suddenly get lots of genuine hits and then be really popular again.
That's even better, isn't it? Use it as a mechanism of promoting.
Okay.
Just by exposure.
Yeah.
Moving on. The city of Vicenza, I think
that's correct,
is choosing Zorin OS. Following a successful migration at one of the city's schools, Vicenza in Italy is switching to Zorin OS for its municipal computing. What is Zorin OS, I hear you ask?
Isn't Source OS those guys that we interviewed?
Yes, it is. We interviewed them years and years ago when they were at school.
Before they were famous.
I remember
Yeah.
that. That's awesome.
Yeah, isn't it? So it's based off Ubuntu, and I think the main shtick with Zorin is the user interface is familiar. So there's no, where is my menu gone? I don't recognize these icons. There's an air of familiarity for people coming from existing Windows effectively. And so that's their big selling point, is that it'll be easy to transition people over, assuming that, you've got the necessary application software on Linux that will enable them to do their job or whatever it is that they're doing. But it seems like, I think they said they've got 700 desktops with around 900 employees that are going to be using this. So it's not a massive deployment, but it's still no small change, and it's nice to see a smaller Linux distro getting a bit of exposure.
Yeah. And I really like the guy who announced this, that did the press conference. His title is Counselor for Simplification and Innovation.
That's brilliant.
I think every city should have one.
Awesome. So well done, Zorin OS and Zorin Group.
Yes. Next up, the Apple Music subscription service has been found to delete users' local music library during its setup.
What?
Yes. So an Apple user called James Pinkstone posted this on his blog after he found that all of his music had been deleted from his hard drive. And he went to the Apple store and said, what the hell's going on? and he was told, "Oh no, that's what it's meant to do. That's behaving as expected."
What? Why? What possible reason is there for an application software? I'm guessing iTunes is.
Yeah, basically it's a service.
It's
a service you get through iTunes, and well, basically it. The idea is that it scans all of your local music and matches it with music in the Apple Music database, and any which it doesn't find, it'll upload, and then it streams them to you when you ask for them, as long as you carry on paying for the service.
Right, so it's a convenience that I can now see all of my music from my mobile device or from my tablet anywhere that originally was locked down in whatever format on my laptop, which may be closed and in my bag or back at home, right? That's the selling point. But the downside is, the assumption is that you would want to do this.
And it also has some unfortunate consequences as well. And this particular music fan had a number of rare recordings of particular songs and, before bands had signed labels and what have you. And those have been detected as the mainstream recording. And his library now has the mainstream recording in it in iTunes, but his local copy has been deleted. So he doesn't have the same music in his iTunes cloud account. And also, he's a musician himself, and all of his own music that he's made has also been uploaded to iTunes and converted from WAVs to AAC or something. So now he has a lower quality version of his own music and doesn't have the original versions of his own music.
That's nice. So obviously the standard nerd response to this is, where's your backups? Obviously,
he did in fact have, luckily for him.
Okay, that's semi-good news. Is
yes,
there any follow-on from this?
Well, he did say, in fact, the Apple employee he spoke to, who said this was intended behaviour, had had a lot of flack from people who had just signed up for the 3 months trial and then cancelled it, only to find that they no longer had their music and they didn't have backups. So it's not an uncommon thing that this has come up, but apparently another Apple employee has since been in touch with him and assured him that this wasn't intended behaviour, and has been speaking to him to find out more about the situation. So I expect this is going to change fairly promptly if it hasn't already.
It's interesting how these convenience things that, under normal circumstances you might think, actually that's quite a good idea. I could walk around with, for 80% of the populace who just want to install the thing and then, oh wow, I can see all my music on my mobile device, and assuming they're bought into the ecosystem and they have everything,
If you want a streaming service where you can upload your music to the cloud and see it on all of your mobile devices, you can use Google Music Manager, which does the same matching but doesn't actually interfere with your local music library at all.
Cool.
Frank Karlitzek, the founder of OnCloud, has resigned as CTO of OnCloud Inc. He's staying on as project leader, though. I didn't quite follow this story. I did read it very quickly.
I found it a little bit confusing too. I wasn't
so
quite clear.
we spoke to Frank several years ago when OnCloud was just starting out, in fact.
6 years ago, probably.
Well, there we go. Is that how long he said it's been going?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Laura internalised that bit. Yes.
Yes.
But basically, it sounds like he feels that the goals of the company and the goals of the community project have become somewhat at odds with each other.
No way.
Or where they have been at odds with each other, that conflict hasn't been well managed, and so he no longer wants to be part of the company side.
What confused me was that the things that was in the article I read, the things that you mentioned as problems like conflicts between company and commercial interests and project interests and long-term versus short-term goals, they all sounded like things that you just have to work out in a business.
Yes.
And partly should have been his responsibility.
Well, that was the other thing. It was he was saying there were these ethical issues. It's like, well, yeah, that's your job to sort out. Well, maybe he just doesn't feel like that's the sort of job he wants to do, which is fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, he's also chief technical officer, so, he's responsible for the technical direction of the project maybe, and not necessarily the more commercially driven aspects of it, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yes, he says he'll still be still be the head of the project until the community says otherwise.
In other news, China has unveiled a weaponized robot security guard.
I welcome our Chinese robot overlords.
Yeah.
I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah. As long as you don't have a phobia of wheelie bins, then you'll be okay. It doesn't look like the scariest of robots.
Yeah.
So, yes, it has an SOS button and a cattle prod.
That seems to be pretty much the long and the short of it. Apparently it's for riot control, but...
yeah.
That sounds great.
One of the quotes is it's China's first intelligent crime fighter, known as Anbot. And it has similar features to it says here it has similar features to the character from the 1987 movie Robocop. And I looked at the pictures, I could not spot the resemblance myself.
It sounds a lot like Robocop, though.
Yeah, sounds like.
Does it have a
looks
disembodied brain stem inside? Is that why it's like Robocop?
Well, we haven't seen inside it.
It
looks more like a Dalek than it does like Robocop, so maybe it's got some sort of squelchy brain thing inside, yeah.
I like the quote that you've got there. It says it's China's first intelligent crime fighter. Like, they've never had any intelligent crime fighters. Well, that's a good thing that they've now got one. It's a shame it's a dusty bin.
Oh.
Meanwhile, in good news, the KDE project Neon has begun publishing daily Wayland images. That's exciting, isn't it?
It is for me.
Why is it exciting for you?
Because one of my predictions was that we'd have, I did say one of the top 5 distros on DistroWatch would have Wayland or Mia, but maybe this is a starter. Maybe we'll have a KDE-based distro which will have Wayland on it by the end of the year, and I'll be right.
Awesome. So these are daily builds. So obviously, buyer beware, and there's the possibility it might not work some days, and you have to be aware of that when you're installing this. But I think it's a great way to get started with testing this stuff. Is you could try it out, see if it works. If it doesn't, then leave it a little while and try it again in a bit, and make sure you give your feedback and report your bugs and all that kind of stuff. But it's nice to see a mainstream desktop have up-to-date daily builds of Wayland base. That's good.
Yeah. And I don't think you don't actually have to install the KDE Neon ISO. I don't think you can just add this as a repository to Ubuntu 16.04 or Ubuntu 16.04 rather, and it should just work.
Sweet.
It looks like that's probably all we've got time for in the news this week. So let's move on.
Now it's time for some community news and events. And first up, some bad news. Ubuntu Tweak is now officially terminated. That's my Arnie impression there, in case you didn't get it. No? Okay. When you edit it, can you make me sound more like Arnie, please? Not like a clown or anything. So Ubuntu Tweak was a tool that's been around for a while, and it's been useful for tweaking settings on your Ubuntu desktop, which not traditionally been exposed to the user. And now the project leader has said they're no longer going to continue to maintain it.
They have also invited other people to show an interest, step up, and take it on.
So that's good. Handing over gracefully. There is another tool, so not to be confused with Unity Tweak tool, which is another tool which is still being maintained and has many of the features that Ubuntu Tweak had back in the day.
Jolly good.
Cool. Next up, Ubuntu Core is now available for Samsung Arctic 5 and 10. I have 2 questions about this.
What is Ubuntu Core and who are Samsung?
Yeah.
No, what is Ubuntu Core and what is a Samsung Arctic?
Well, if you click the link, you'll find.
I was still none the wiser, I'm afraid.
Oh, really? Okay. I don't know. I think these are like dev boards, like a BeagleBoard, Raspberry Pi, those kind of things. They're dev boards. And Ubuntu Core is the base for the future of like the Ubuntu platform, so Snap's built on that. So
so is this what was previously called Ubuntu Snappy Core?
Well, no, it's so everyone calls it lots of different things, and really the official name is Ubuntu Core.
Right.
What? Ubuntu Snappy?
No, Ubuntu Core.
Okay.
And Snappy is just like a friendly name for it. Like, we call it Snappy because the package manager is Snap, and I think it's the communication has not been clear there, but yeah, basically Ubuntu Core is the main product, and Snaps are the packages that go on top of it, and altogether you kind of call it Snappy.
Right, but the news here really is Samsung and Canonical have been working together, and Samsung are interested in Ubuntu on stuff.
Yes, that's good news.
Yeah.
Is that stuff a phone or a tablet or a big server? Or?
It sounds like it's some kind of embedded board for
IoT
devices.
Yeah.
Okay. So Unity 8 won't be the default desktop for Ubuntu 16.10 come this October.
Drat. That makes my prediction slightly less likely.
What was your prediction?
My prediction that one of the desktops, one of the distros would have Mir or Wayland. I was actually thinking that it would be Ubuntu 16.10 that would have it, and it seems that I'm now banking on Fedora or something.
What, Fedora having Mir?
No, Fedora having Wayland.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
There was a couple of sensationalist headlines oh no, it's been pushed back again because, we keep saying it's going to be the desktop soon, and it's still not. It
was never said it was going to be on 16.10, was it? I don't remember ever hearing
No,
that.
I was going to say, I thought the message from this was that Mark Shuttleworth had said that things didn't go quite to plan with the introduction of Unity 7, so they weren't going to make Unity 8 the default until there was community opinion that should be the done thing.
Right. And in fact, when we interviewed Mark 2 years ago on the phone, he said exactly that. He said that they rushed some things. They maybe pushed Unity 7 a little bit too early, and they won't be making that mistake again. And he's consistently said repeatedly on his Ask Mark sessions and at UOS and all these kind of things that Unity 8 won't be the default until we get enough people saying that's ready.
It's the Grolsch of Linux desktops.
Yes. Stop. Yes. Anyway, we'll keep. You can still install it, and it will be an option in 16.10. It just won't be the default. That's all.
And the Ubuntu Orange has been updated for use on the screen. So everyone say hello to #E95420, which is the RGB.
It's not quite the same as DD4814 that you could remember very easily.
You could remember really easily.
So the SDK has been updated and the documentation as well from the design team. So there's a new Orange for Ubuntu.
UNAV 0.59. Beauty and the Beast is the code name for this, is out. So this UNAV is the navigation app, community maintained, open source, free software, mapping and navigation tool. There's a new release in the Ubuntu store, 0.59. I did say to the guys, at some point, can we just push that beyond 0. something? It looks really bad when all of our, every single app in the store is 0. something. Can we just push something to 1.1 or something? It just looks awful. But the app itself is great. It's just the version number I don't like.
Yep, I've used UNAV. It's successfully navigated me from my home to the Egham Raspberry Jam a couple of weeks ago.
And they're now looking at doing offline mode. It's probably the most requested feature.
Yeah.
It's having all the mapping data offline, so you don't have to have a permanent connection to use it, which is quite useful, especially if you're using maybe a tablet that doesn't have a 3G connection and you want to do mapping with that while you're out and about.
I wonder if you can get Ubuntu on a tablet with no mobile network.
Well, maybe we should
look at that next episode.
Yes. Moving on.
In-app purchases are now available in the Ubuntu store. And so this is the Ubuntu store on not the new Ubuntu software app on the desktop. This is the Ubuntu store on the phone. Michael Terry has Who's Michael Terry?
He works for Canonical on some of these things.
Canonical's Michael Terry has pointed out that there's now the ability to have in-app purchases, which among other things will help developers avoid having to have a separate donation version and a free version of their app. They can just have a free version of their app and then take payments in the app if people want to chip in a bit of money towards the development.
Excellent.
And that keeps all of the reviews and downloads in one and saves you filling the Ubuntu store with loads of rubbish. Cool.
Ubuntu software in 16.04 can now install snaps and third-party devs.
Hooray.
Yay.
Yes, there was a bit of wailing and gnashing of teeth when 16.04 first came out, and there was a bug filed that the new GNOME software, Ubuntu software, if you downloaded a deb like from a random website and then double-clicked it, in the old days that would open in Ubuntu Software Center. But unfortunately, in the new Ubuntu software based on GNOME software, that didn't work. So there was a bug filed, and some people were like, "Oh, how did they possibly release it with this catastrophic bug?" And it was fixed within a week, and so that now works. And snaps as well.
I would have been gnashing, so that's cool.
Yes.
So the snaps, does that mean that you've got like a GUI onto the library of snaps that you can search and see what's there?
So it's like, in the old days you'd do apt-get install cowsay. Now you do sudo snap install cowsay. But if you're on a desktop, you'd type cowsay into Ubuntu software and then click install. So yes.
Yes. Excellent.
And which
That's
do
really
you
cool.
install if the app is available for a snap and out of the archive?
I don't know what it shows. I think the idea is probably to prefer snaps over debs. I think it might just go by version number. So, if the snap version number is higher, I think the idea is that, you want to prefer that someone has a snap because that's the one that's probably going to get updated. For example, if you installed a LibreOffice snap, then the LibreOffice developers could put a new version of the snap in the store, and you could bump from 5.1 to 5.2 to 5.3 to 6 during the lifetime of an LTS. You don't have to stick on 5.1 and only get minor bug fix releases and security updates through the 2 or 3 years that you're on the LTS. You could actually get whole new releases of LibreOffice. And if you installed, I'm picking LibreOffice, but it's not a fantastic example, but it illustrates the point. If you installed from the Debian archive that application, then you wouldn't get those updates. And so I think the idea is that Ubuntu software will kind of prefer you to install the snap if there were 2 versions available, because the snap would be updated.
Yeah, cool.
And I think that's all of the community news. Now we'll move on to the events. Laura, what's first?
So we've got the Raspberry Jam at Black Gang Chang Theme Park. Bring along your Pi projects, and that's on the Sunday the 5th of June at 10:30 till 1:30 at Black Gang Chine on the Isle of Wight.
Super. Next up is OSCON, which as we record this is next week. You can join the software engineering and developer community to explore what's new in open source languages, tools and techniques, 16th to the 19th of May in Austin, Texas. And I'll be going. So if you're going to OSCON, come and say hello. If you're also going to be at Community Leadership Summit, which is the weekend before, which is this weekend coming as we record this, also come and say hello because I'll be there as well.
Lucky man. The Malaysia Open Source Conference is taking place on the 25th to the 28th of May. The Malaysia Open Source Conference brings together thousands of participants from around Malaysia and the world to address mutual challenges and share information on open source software. That's taking place in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and we'll have a link to that event in the show notes.
Cool. And finally, Southeast Linux Fest is on. That's a community event for anyone who wants to learn about Linux and open source software. It is part educational conference and part social gathering, and that's the 10th to the 12th of June in Charlotte, United States. That's a very vague address, but I'm sure you can find out more at southeastlinuxfest.org.
That's in North Carolina.
Right, thank you.
Excellent. And that's all the community news and events for today.
We love getting your feedback, so please send it to us. Even the pointlessly mean stuff makes us laugh. If it's short, tweet us on @Ubuntu Podcast. If it's less short, but please no essays, email us on show@ubuntupodcast.org. If you'd like to discuss some of the things we talk about with other listeners, post on our shiny new subreddit at reddit.com/r/Ubuntu Podcast. Or you can just leave a comment on the relevant show notes on our website, ubuntupodcast.org.
And that's all for episode 11. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week when we'll be discussing the BQM10 Ubuntu tablet.
And we'll have command line love, won't we?
Yes, we will bring you some command line love, of course.
Super.
Yes.
Wow, that flew by.
Well, yes, indeed. Yes.
Ta-ra.
I always had something else there, but it's gone.
Oh, bye-bye.
Bye.